Yeah. Toby, is there anything maybe on the science side that you've seen work well, whether it's engineering a nice wait list where they're doing activities during that, or what have you done some of the science things to increase maybe that average ticket or get more out of those precious visits that people make?
I've always been a proponent of embracing technology. So we try to stay on the leading edge of a lot of that. And we're big on people being able to book online.
Yeah.
In the meat of the season, we're sort of on the northern side of the country in Colorado. So we really do have some seasonality.
Sure.
But in the November, December, January, February, March part of the season, booked business is 35% of our open.
Okay.
And it's big. We only book at rack rate. We add a convenience fee. One thing that's come out of the pandemic is having food delivered to the house, making sure that life is simple, and all the conveniences that we've sort of figured out through the pandemic, I think are things that are going to keep with legs. It's going to be the last thing to drop off. If we do hit a recession, convenience fees and booking things and stuff like that might be one of the last things to drop.
Sure.
But that was really big. And then we added on a lot of things, like if they're booking for 5 people and they put their names in, we just assume they're going to need 5 pair of rental shoes. So we just add that in. And then they can add on game cards, they can add on laser tag, and they can bundle all that in and click and buy it and reserve it for 7 days, 10 days, 2 days out. And then when they come in, and all that is already paid, the food and beverage spend goes up.
Right.
Because it's like that spend for activities is already already done behind it. And then they leave having spent another 175 in food and beverage, feeling like, wow, that was 3 hours. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And they don't feel quite so pained by the full amount.
Yeah, you kind of space out.
So I really think that that's made a huge difference from a technology standpoint. I analyze things probably to the point where I've got some matrix that I look at every week. I know we have guest counters. So I know how many guests walk in every day by hour, and which helps to load your staff on intelligently. If you look at revenue, it's a lagging factor to the guest walking in, right? So if you're looking at revenue by hour, it's behind the guest count. So if you look at guest count coming in, you can actually get an hour ahead of them with staffing.
Is that what the lag is? About an hour lag?
That's the lag.
Okay.
So maybe 2 hours behind the revenue.
Right. So it's their length of stay, right?
And depending on their length of stay and when they
cash out,
transactions take place.
Interesting.
But it's helpful to know how many people are walking in. This technology also tells us that anybody 4'2" or shorter are kids. So it actually counts kids and adults coming in the entry. So
interesting.
From that, I know how many guests are coming in, how many kids are guests. I can analyze bar revenue per adult, total food and beverage spend, game room spend, bowling, of course. And when you have multiple locations, you can put them side by side and say, how is this center getting $7.35 in bar revenue per adult guest, and this one's getting $5.50.
Right.
And so you start to kind of think about ways that you can improve. And you're looking at last year, and you're looking at Friday versus Saturday versus Sunday.
Yeah.
You're looking at total guest spend and things like that. So those kind of analytics kind of drive some thought process. You can get pretty sleepy in this business.
Yeah, now you've
been doing it for a while. You've been doing it for a while. It's like the old mimeograph machine. It's just boom. But if you,
I love it.
If you stop long enough to look at some of the analytics, like one of the things that we did, which is pretty interesting, we always kind of thought, what is the maximum business we could have in a day?
What's your ceiling?
When you're selling by the game, it's really difficult to try to figure out. You could say, we should be able to sell 5 games an hour. We got this many lanes, this many hours. So maybe this number of games makes sense. Now that it's time, if you're open from 10 in the morning till 1 in the morning, you have 32 lanes, you know exactly how many hours you could sell on a Saturday.
Right.
And you're selling everything by time. So you're selling it by the hour and a half, 2 hours. Birthday parties you put in, group events you put in. All of a sudden you can say, we ran at 82.5% lane efficiency
Yeah.
to the total that we could have.
Right.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's not bad. It's kind of cool to know where you're at. And then it's a matter of saying, how do we get to 85?
Yeah. Right.
How can we squeeze it? Like, where are the holes? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of things from a science of the business that kind of get me a little tingly.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. Now, do you ever do a comparison of the occupancy, like total occupancy versus revenue? Is there a way you could potentially get a lower efficiency but a higher revenue, or have you
It
worked
is
out a pricing
interesting
matrix?
because, yeah, across our 3 locations, we have one that always performs the best in total revenue per guest
Mhm.
visit. So they would come in at $35 average spend. Every guest that walks in the door, $35 revenue per guest. Now, that's not a perfect matrix because mom and dad might walk in, drop off their kid for a birthday party, walk out, walk in again, pick up the kid for a birthday party. All of a sudden, you got 4 adults that have come in and spent the
Yeah.
night.
Right.
Or you got the smokers that are going in and out.
Right.
Or you've got this kind of stuff. So every now and then, and you got employees and vendors and stuff because
Sure.
we try to figure out one
Yeah.
more.
What's your margin of error?
So there's all of that. The number isn't going to be totally accurate, but when you're comparing to another place that's doing $29, but they have more guests coming in, now you start to look at where are those guests spending their money. And if it's a little bit more game room and a little less food and beverage, then, you know, you start to dig deeper into it and say, how can we, what are we missing there to a certain degree? So you do those kind of analytics to just to try to get better.
Yeah.
And if an industry, as an industry, there's so many variables. It's the issue, even with 3
Right.
locations. So it's hard to benchmark that
Right,
stuff
it
so that
is,
you
yeah.
could say the industry's doing this and I'm doing this. So it's kind of difficult. But what you can do is analyze it even on a single operator standpoint. Say, how can we do a little bit better?
Right. You're your own benchmark.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. That 83 to 85.
Yeah.
Hey, did you like this video? Great. We make 10 of them a week. Subscribe to learn more and keep learning about what's working in the industry. Talk to you then.